wife, Cynthia Berryman Fink, and Chuck Fink dove into the art of storytelling at the age of 64, so he's a newbie. He's appeared in numerous shows telling personal stories filled with angst, drama, and a healthy dose of humor. Before retiring from a career as a seminar leader and organizational consultant, he wove stories into his classes and consulting and for anyone who was willing to listen. Cindy Berryman Fink pulled storytelling out of her academic toolbox during her 31 years as a professor of communications at the University of Cincinnati, and more recently with the publication of her memoir, Beware of Hanging Icicles. We could all take a lesson. Tales of a New England Girl. And I believe they've been married 40 years, so they know a little bit about love. So let's welcome Chuck and Cindy.
Yeah.
You're going to have to turn the other mic on.
Okay. There we go. Hello there. Can you hear me? Is this on? Ah. Is this on? Yeah. Okay. We call this story Speaking of Sports. And we've been married actually 45 years. Cindy was 12. And this is about our lifetime of adventures in sports before and during our marriage.
Now, the very first sport I was ever aware of was boxing. I was 5 or 6 years old. My father loved to watch boxing on TV, so he would have me sit next to him on the couch to watch boxing. It scared me to death. It was violent, it was ugly, it was frightening, but that was the first sport I was ever aware of as like a 5, 6, 7-year-old.
Observing boxing. I was a Golden Glove boxer in the 5th grade. I learned the uppercuts, the undercuts, how to fend off a blow. And then there was the big tournament. My opponent was Jeff. Now, I knew I could beat Jeff. Now, I'm a little guy, but he was littler. Is there such a word? and I was into the ring, and I whooped him. I know I whooped him. His grandfather was the referee.
How can we picture little Chucky Fink boxing as a 10-year-old? You were a little kid.
Okay, well, I had some sports that I also observed. And the first one, I went to watch my father bowl. He went bowling. Well, here's what happened. My dad had kind of thick hands, unlike his son. And he put his hands in that 16-pound ball. He threw it down the alley, but his hands were still in the ball. It was a perfect 10-4 split. And then the other time was, I'm from Cincinnati. Please keep it down.
Oh, you got someone back there.
Okay. Well, we went to Crosley Field, which was the stadium for the Reds, way back in the day. Now, we didn't have a lot of money, so my dad would buy tickets, and they were always behind the posts that held up the stadium roof. So we went to games. I never saw one.
Now, I have an amazing experience with the Cincinnati Reds. I moved to Cincinnati in 1978 to take my job at the University of Cincinnati. And the next year in 1979, I got a phone call from a friend I had known the previous year, a male friend. And he was a photographer for Sports Illustrated. And he asked if I wanted to go to the Reds game. It was a playoff game between the Cincinnati Reds and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Sure, I'd like to do that. So he gives me a camera, and a press pass, and we get to the game, and we get to sit right there on the field in the press box. And I'm
Dugout.
oh, yes, the dugout. We sat in the dugout. So there's all these professional photographers taking pictures of the action. Well, I hadn't even been much of a baseball fan. I didn't know what action I was supposed to be taking pictures of. But once they would take a picture, my camera would go off a couple of seconds later as I was pretending to be a photographer. But what was really amazing about that experience, besides being on the dugout on the field, was the swearing, the cussing by Willie Stargell in the Pittsburgh Pirates. I had heard, Pittsburgher here, I had heard all these words before. I'd heard these cuss words, but I'd never heard them in such incredible combinations of words and sentences. It was amazing.
Pops Willie Stargell. What a player. But talk about cussing. You should have heard my cussing, because she's going out with this slimeball photographer, but I had tickets to that game too. They were in the last row of the red seats, no longer Crosley Field. Now it's Riverfront Stadium. I brought binoculars so I could just see home plate. They were totally focused on that dugout, not press box, the dugout. And I just want to make sure it was okay. About 2 weeks later, I get down on one knee. I didn't ask Cindy to marry me. I begged her to marry me.
Oh, and I'm glad he did.
Oh.
45 years later now. Let's see. I played on a baseball team. No, I'm not a baseball team. A softball team in graduate school. It was called Ricky's Raiders because one of our professors was Dr. Ricky, and he created the team. It was co-ed, and we got these bright yellow shirts, and we could pick our numbers. So I picked number 1. And I loved wearing that bright yellow shirt with number 1. And we would go drinking after games, which was fun too. But I honestly really don't remember ever playing the games. I remember the shirt, I remember the drinking, and that was fun.
She remembered the number 1 thing about playing softball: drinking a beer after the game.
So didn't you play some baseball?
Oh, yeah. I played in Cincinnati. It was not Little League baseball. It was knothole baseball. And I was maybe 8 or 9 years old, and we're playing, and I'm playing left field, and Tommy is playing center field, and there's a line drive that's hit between us, and it's kind of rising, and we just crossed paths. We didn't see the ball. Tommy looks in his glove. It's not there. He says, "Look in your glove." There's the ball. I caught it. My parents came after the game. They didn't see the most amazing sporting event of my life. So sad.
Aww. Now, I was never very good at sports. As a little kid in the city I lived in, Fall River, Massachusetts, we'd have these pickup dodgeball games in the street when you could play in the street. And they'd pick kids, and I'd always be the last one standing there, and they'd say, "Okay, Cindy, come on, you're on our team." And then when I was a teenager, we'd go to the beaches in the beautiful town next door that I had moved to, Westport. And I love going to those beaches. You know, you're teenagers, a bunch of us hanging out at the beach, having fun. Inevitably, someone would say, "Let's play volleyball." There'd be a pickup volleyball game. And it was the same thing, always last kid picked. But I was persistent, even though I was a terrible athlete. In high school, I desperately wanted to be a cheerleader. I went to a very small high school. My graduating class was 84. So freshman year, I try out for cheerleading. Not last kid picked, first one cut. Second year, sophomore year, I'm going to be a cheerleader. I try out again. First one cut. True story. Third year, junior year, I try out again. I had been practicing my cartwheels and all my movements. I was going to be a cheerleader this year. First one cut. Senior year, I'm going to try out. Crazy, I'm going to try out. And the women's gym teacher, the women's phys ed teacher, Miss Chase, takes me aside and says, "Cindy, do not try out for cheerleading. You're editing the school yearbook, you're editing the newspaper, you're in drama club, you're not going to be a cheerleader. Did I listen? No. Tried out for cheerleading and I was the first one cut again.
Nevertheless, she persisted.
I was hoping that number 1 on my shirt would get me somewhere. Anyway, I did play a sport in high school, a varsity sport. Again, small high school, 40 girls, whatever. I played field hockey and I loved it. We would practice by running down the field with the hockey stick, bouncing that heavy ball off the stick. And I loved my cute little uniform for the games. It was a little brown skirted uniform. And I was on the offense. I was a left wing. I was on the offense. I don't ever remember scoring a goal.
Oh my goodness. Well, I too played sports in school, but this was college. The George Washington University in DC. Anybody? Okay, nobody went there. All right. See me after the show. Anyway, we had intramural teams. Now, I was in a fraternity my freshman year, but it was the 60s, man. It was like 1968. Fraternities, woo. So we quit. A bunch of us quit. But we liked sports, so we formed an intramural team called the, remember, this is the 60s, the Heads Up. So we would play teams, and our left and center fielder, unlike Tommy and me, they'd be kind of like, oh, wow, man, look at this guy. Needless to say, we lost every game. But one game we got even. We played the GW Medical School, the med school. They soundly trounced us. But hey, all the hippies got around in a circle and said, socialized medicine, socialized medicine. I wish they had.
Yeah, that's true. Now, I had a scary situation in college. I went to Bridgewater State College, about 20 miles south of Boston, better known as Bridgewater State. And that school, that college, had a requirement that you had to pass swimming before you could graduate. So I took the swimming class and I flunked it. Took the swimming class a second time. I flunked it. It's my senior year. I'm thinking, surely they're not going to keep me from getting a bachelor's degree because I can't pass swimming. I was going to graduate magna cum laude. I had a scholarship for graduate school. Well, the college decided to create a special course called pre-beginners. Pre-beginners. It was me and like this 60-year-old woman. She seemed really old at the time. And all we had to do was swim down the length of the pool and back, right on the side. So I think I was doing the elementary backstroke. And if you get nervous, I could just grab the side of the pool. And I did that many times. And I went up and back and passed and got my bachelor's degree.
So it was a swimming pool that might have prevented her from going on and getting her PhD, becoming a professor, Dr. Berryman Fink, and all that stuff. But I, too, had a swimming adventure. We were in Grand Cayman, and we had snorkeled. It was kind of fun, but they offered a resort diving experience. Sounded great. You have to take a resort diving class, which meant you went to a swimming pool, you put on your weights, you put on your snorkel mask, you put in your regulator, and then you go down to the bottom of the pool, you take off your weights. If you can go back up and still breathe, you passed. But they gave us very important warnings. 1, do not panic. 2, never ever take out your regulator. Yeah, no problem. So we go out on the dive boat. Cindy, she's a little afraid of water, so she stayed up on the boat. But I'm near the edge, and there's a few of us. And you know how when you dive, you have to go in backwards and all that. Did everything perfectly. I'm in the water. It is beautiful. The fish were of so many colors. And everything around me is just so amazing. Until I got to about 11 and 11 and a half feet down. Then the world starts spinning around. I don't know, up from down, left from right. So I did exactly what they said not to do. I panicked and I pulled out the regulator.
Now, as Chuck said, I'm not swimming. I've never learned to swim. I'm on the back of the boat, beautiful, Grand Cayman. I'm drinking rum drinks on the back of the boat. I had watched where he had jumped in, and then I see all these bubbles and all this commotion, and I yell to the guy driving the boat, "Help, help, I think my husband's in trouble."
And this guy, Cindy saw it, so I just heard about this, but he pulled off everything except his swim trunks, and he dove down without any equipment on. He goes all the way down, he takes off my weights, throws them down, and gently lifts me up. I survived. Came back, went to the doctor, and found out I have vertigo.
I guess that was the end of your diving career. Huh?
Yeah, one last dive, yeah.
Then there was the time, it was a Mother's Day. Chuck gives me as a present golf clubs. I had never expressed interest in golf. I'm like, "Oh, golf clubs, thank you, dear." And I thought to myself, I guess I better take some golf lessons, learn to play golf. So I did. And I played golf with some women friends and played golf with Chuck, played golf with our sons. And I played for many years. I never really did like golf. But I got a hole in one. He's wearing a golf shirt. Look at that.
She got a hole in one. Did you buy any beer as you're supposed to for everybody in the clubhouse? No.
There wasn't a clubhouse. It was just a par 3 course,
Yeah,
park course.
Yeah.
I would have bought beer if I knew I was supposed to, if there had been beer.
Well, I didn't get a hole in one, although I came like this close one time. But I did get a cup holder in one. I'm playing at the Grove Park Inn before you needed a bank loan to play at the Grove Park Inn. And I take my swing, and it's pretty good, which is rare for me. I've been playing since I've been 12. I suck as badly now as I did then. But I finally hit a good drive. I see the green, and I go for the next shot, but I don't see it going anywhere. My buddy's in the golf cart at a 45-degree angle. I look over, 2 hops into the cup holder for a cup holder in one. But that's not my only golf story. I call this BK, before kids. We would go to various places for a little weekend getaway. So we're at one in Lexington, Kentucky. And I love this place because it had a phone in the bathroom. You could do your business and do your business. Well, they also had a jacuzzi and a swimming pool. One day, Cindy decides she is going to go into the swimming pool. Now, this is the early days. She had a reflector, to catch the rays, while I'm out playing golf. The first 4 holes, The 5th hole, once again, a beautiful drive. And I look at the green that's ahead of me, but it's a raised green. And it goes down into a gully, and then it raises. So I get out my next 7-wood. I knew I could hit that green. Hit the ball. It's going towards the green. I couldn't believe it. It's going towards the green. Now, there was a little patch of green stuff at the bottom of that hill that rose up to the green. My ball didn't hit the green. It hit that green stuff. So I drive my golf cart to the edge of the hill that goes down, and I park it on the edge. I go down, I look for my ball. There it is. But it's not just a patch of green grass. It's a pond. Well, I need to get my ball retriever. It's a long, skinny thing that's telescopic with a little round thing that you use to scoop up the ball. As I turn around, the golf cart is coming down the hill. Somebody just forgot to hit the brake. So, I grew up watching James Bond. I knew exactly what to do. It's a WWSC moment. What would Sean Connery do? Well, I see the car coming. I jump in it like Connery would do. I go to hit the brake. I missed. I hit the gas. The cart, me, my clubs, all go in for a nice summer swim.
Okay, let's go back to spectator sports. I had never known anything about football. My small high school didn't have a football team. My college didn't have a football team. I had never paid any attention to football. But when I met Chuck, I realized, boy, he was really an avid football fan, so I better learn a little bit about football so we can watch games together. So I had a girlfriend teach me about football. We'd watch football game on her TV at her house, and she'd teach the game to me, and I felt like, all right, I learned football. So we're watching our first game together on TV, and I'm commenting, and I'm into the game, and I'm getting all excited about the game, and all of a sudden I yell at the TV, "Pump up the offense, the defense better score."
Well, Cindy is such a wonderful wife. She bought season tickets to the Bengals.
Little did I know that one year, as a gift to Chuck, as season's tickets, turned into a decade. We did a decade of going to Cincinnati Bengals games. So I did learn a little bit about football over the years, although there was always beer there, so at least I could drink my beer.
Yeah.
And probably the last game we went to was January of 1989. It was a playoff game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Buffalo Bills. Right?
The Freezer Bowl, it was
called.
called.
January of 89 in Cincinnati. I am pregnant. I am really pregnant. But I go to the game, and I had to go to the ladies' room at one point, and all the women know if there's ladies' room in a public space, there's always a long line. Well, I was so pregnant, all the women let me go ahead of them in the ladies' room. But I sat through that game as uncomfortable as I was, got home, and a few hours later that night went into labor and delivered our second son, Greg.
And Greg now lives in California, actually. He works in the industry. Well, in California, in LA, there is a pub, a bar called the 513. That's the area code for Cincinnati. So whenever the Bengals are on TV, Greg is at the 513 going, who they say going to beat them Bengals? Nobody.
Yeah, I knew that cheer once too. Okay, let's see. Chuck and I took up skiing in our mid-40s because our sons wanted to ski, and surprisingly, it was a pretty good ski resort, not too far from us, an hour away in Indiana. So I took my ski lessons, and I skied for many years. I enjoyed skiing very, very much.
Lessons. I don't need no stinking lessons. So I go out, and I figure I know what to do. I go down that hill. I go up to the top of a moderate slope, and I'm going down, and I could ski. I did not know how to stop. So as I'm going down, I'm yelling at people, get out of the way, I can't stop, and then smack, I hit the side of the lodge, and that's how I stopped.
And then I was skiing on the intermediate slope one day, and our two sons came skiing up to me and say, Mom, come, we better help Dad. Dad's in trouble. So we go down to the bunny slope, it's practically flat, the bunny slope. Dad's in trouble on the bunny slope. There is Chuck bleeding in the snow.
Well, you have those sticks. You're supposed to push with them. I thought I would stop with them.
Ski poles.
But they bounced up. Okay, ski poles, dugout, press box. They bounced back and they hit me in the head and I was bleeding. But I'm a klutz. How else are you going to find somebody in the snow unless there's a trail of blood? It made perfect sense. Well, folks, there was one other sport that we participated in that I think really defines our marriage. Our first vacation was to Sanibel Island, and it's known for its seashells and its beautiful beaches. We rented bicycles to go on a bicycle tour around the island. It was going to be so much fun. Now, I'm the man, so of course I had to go first. And Cindy's behind me. And I'm looking around. It's just beautiful when all of a sudden, boom! Cindy hits me. And we both go down. And I say to her, "What? Why did you do that?"
And I say timidly, I was just trying to bicycle closer to you because I love you.
Aww. Thank you all.